Hey everyone, welcome. This is SheKnowsArsenal. My name is Jessica and I'm your host, and you can follow me on Twitter at itchjessino. Arsenal won, Chelsea nil. Couldn't have really predicted that. Actually, a lot of people predicted that we would win the game. I didn't. I thought we would lose 2 nil, and I think I'm justified in feeling that way. But yeah, I mean, we haven't won. Well, let's start out with the positives first. That we won the game, and that's the most important thing in football is you have to get results. There's been games this season, you could think of like the Wolves game, even like the Aston Villa game, the second one where we lost 1-0, even the Everton game where we pretty much dominated the game and ended up with nothing. And Chelsea dominated this game and ended up with nothing. So I think we all know that football is a crazy game, and it's a game that we love because anything can happen, and having all the possession doesn't necessarily mean anything. And we ground out the win, and I'm happy about that. I really, really am. And so for that, we have to be happy. I think we'll do some player ratings, and then I'm going to get you guys on. This is a call-in show, so you'll have your opportunity to say how you feel. Um, but just first, I kind of want to talk about just how the game unfolded in my eyes. I think that we didn't learn much about this Arsenal team in this game. We've known that we can win games without any possession and pretty much grind out wins. We've done it before. We did it against Man City. We did it against Liverpool last season, and we did it again today. And what this has shown me is that we're probably a better team without possession. We're a better team when we play on the break and take advantage of the one or two chances that we get. But as we try to move throughout the season and become a team that has more possession and is a little bit more dominant, we are not good enough to do that. So I think we're in a really strange in-between place where we tried something this entire season and it hasn't really worked. And then when we went back to what we know, we're learning again that that's pretty much who we are. And the players that we were able to bring in this summer didn't really move the needle that much in terms of our ability to be better in possession and really put our stamp on a game. I personally don't think we planned to be this to play this way. If we had, I don't think we would have played Odegaard in particular, and maybe not Aubameyang either, because when you play to sit in and maybe win on a 1-0 or something like that, play on the counter, you usually have an out ball and you have ball progressors. I thought Emile Smith-Rowe did really, really well progressing the ball from our half into the Chelsea's half. He did it so many times. And I thought he's the perfect player. I mean, he's good when we want to have possession, but he's really, really good when we need to progress the ball up the pitch. And I think he was the perfect person for this type of game. Towards the end, Thomas was doing a little bit of that as well. He was actually being asked to do more than one job, and he struggled in some parts, but he was also able to break up play and progress the ball forward. And then you had Odegaard, who is so much better when we're dominating possession. And for me, even though he does press and he does try to be a part of, have some defensive contribution, it's not really, he's not mobile enough to really make it into something that's really dangerous for us when we're trying to be on the front foot or trying to gain back possession. So I think he struggled in this game and he wasn't the right fit. For me, if we had planned to play this way, we would have played Pepe. To me, this is a Pepe type of game. He played really well against Man City when we didn't have any possession whatsoever, in a very similar game where we got a couple of early goals and we kind of sat in. And he's really actually better at heading the ball and flicking it on to other people than Aubameyang. He can hold up the ball and he's really good at getting fouls. So I don't really believe that this is the way that we set out to play. And I don't really think that we when it became obvious that we weren't going to have any possession, I don't really think we adjusted well enough for my taste. I think a team of Arsenal stature, even though we're mid-table at the moment, should not have like 20% possession or 30% percent possession and be so sloppy on the ball and unable to create chances. It's okay to have one or two chances or not having possession, but we didn't really create anything. And that just leads me to believe that this is not the way that we intended to play. It's the way the game unfolded. Once Chelsea got really comfortable and they decided to start passing the ball around, we decided to step back. We got the goal and we stepped back further and further and further and didn't impose ourselves on the game at all. And I've seen teams play on the counter before. And when it's your game plan, you set up the team differently and you don't look shocked that you don't have any possession. And it just felt like we were in shock mode for that entire first half. And I don't know how we could be shocked, because if you had asked me before the game how I thought it would go, I would have told you that they would have strangled us with possession, so we needed to play on the counter. But not to have Lacazette as a focal point or an outlet, I think hurt us. And I think not having somebody like Pepe that could progress the ball hurt us as well. But that being said, we still won the game. So I'm not saying that, all is lost or whatever, but it's like bittersweet. We win the game, but it just shows us again that we have not progressed past the team that needs to sit back and defend for 90 minutes. We can't create chances. We're not decisive in the final third. The only person that had any sort of anything about them in this game to me was Emil Smith-Rowe. There were other players that kind of faded in and out. Like they had good moments, like El Neni had good moments. I think Thomas had good and bad moments. Tierney had decent moments. But Emil Smith-Rowe to me is the only one that really looked like he said, you know what, I'm about this. I'm not afraid of Chelsea and I'm going to go out there and show what I have. And again, that just shows where we are. I think Saka didn't have a good game because he's playing out of position. One of the pundits was saying that he was poor for that ball that he let roll over the line, or he lost to Chilwell on the line because he was trying to let it roll out. Well, he's a 19-year-old playing as a wing back on the right side when he's left-footed, so he's going to make mistakes. And I think I look at him and I see somebody who's been overplayed, somebody who looks like his confidence is not as high as it should be. And I think he should rest for the rest of the season. He needs to be out of the firing line. He shouldn't be made to save us and to do all these things for us because he's 19. And Emil Smith-Rowe, the same thing. He played so well, but why is it that our kids are the only ones who show up for games like this? It's very, very frustrating. So before we get into player ratings, I want to read some of your guys' comments. Tony says, master troll job by Arsenal. I agree. Rescind Pumpkin says, I feel ashamed for this win, but I'll take it. Of course, any win is a good win. We can analyze the game and the ins and outs of it, but ultimately, I'm glad that we won. Aaron said, what a lucky win. We are the new Stoke City. Hey. I'm not surprised. AK Gunner says, first win at Stamford Bridge in the league since 2011 and 2012. I think it was like our first time winning at Old Trafford as well this season. So we broke records for good reasons and bad reasons this season. You could say that for sure. Aslan says, a good win for pride. That's very, very true. I'm not saying that the guys didn't play hard. I just think the level in which we're still that team that can't have, we're not good in possession. That's what I've noticed, is that we're better this way. And I've been saying this for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, hindsight is 2020, because last season we were saying we don't like the three at the back. We want to be able to be more free flowing. It's a little bit too stiff, but this is who we are. We are a 3-back team. We are a 3/5 at the back team who plays better on the counter, getting 1 or 2 chances a game and just kind of sitting in and hoping for the best. And that's really unfortunate, because after buying, Thomas and Gabriel, I think we thought we'd be in a different position, but that's who we are. That's who we are right now. And until we change the profile of the team, I don't see it changing. I really, really don't. Aaron said, if we set up this way, the counterattacks have to be more decisive. This is park the bus. But that's the thing, Aaron. I don't think we set this is not the way that we thought the game was going to go. If that was true, then I think Arteta anticipated us not having as much possession as we usually do. But do you really have Odegaard and Aubameyang out there if you know you're not going to have possession? Because the two of them are not great out of possession. They're just not. Odegaard tries, but there's a difference between trying and being good out of possession. And he's just not. He added pretty much nothing to that game. And Aubameyang really struggles when we're out of possession. I think he could have stayed if we had Lacazette or a focal point or something like that, but we just didn't. So I don't think that was the plan. And then when it ended up being the reality, I don't think Arteta reacted quick enough to get the most out of it, even though we skated by and got the win. We can't revise history and act like this was a win that we planned and it was like a masterclass. It wasn't. We got lucky that they couldn't finish their dinner. Benjamin said Aubameyang was heated after being subbed off. Look, I think this has been a very off season for Aubameyang for more reasons than we probably know of. On the field, it's been rough. Off of the field, it's been rough for him. So it's just interesting. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the summer because he said he wanted to be an Arsenal legend, but does he really? It's tough with Aubameyang. It's a guy that just a couple of months ago, a season ago, he was the guy. He was the one that was winning us all the games, and he was that guy. And now he just looks like somebody who's just, and this is just me looking at him, and it could be completely wrong, but he doesn't look happy. And I mean, you guys let me know, but I mean, if an offer in the summer came for him, would you not take it? I just think if there's an opportunity where we can, hindsight comes and sometimes we don't get to act on it. So if an offer came in for him, I think I would probably take it and just move on from it because it hasn't worked. And, it just looks like a bad situation right now. You don't go from being, the guy to sitting on the sideline looking like you wish you were anywhere but here, AK says, Jess, we are a 3 at the back team. Honestly, it's the formation that suits the players we have at the moment, and all of our good results come in this lineup. It's true. And I think that there's a way for us to play this way in the meantime while we're trying to become better that's not so defensive. I think the reason why it seemed more defensive last season was because we didn't have players that could progress the ball through the midfield. We didn't have an Emile Smith-Rowe. We didn't have a Thomas Partey. We had Ceballos and Granit Xhaka. So I think there's a way that we can modify this system to keep us defensively secure and still play decent and get the most out of some of the players that we have. I mean, hindsight for me is 2020. I was one of the people that was like, we need to start moving into the back four. But now I'm really seeing that we are truly a back three team. And I don't think it would be that big of a deal if we had, Gabriel, whoever we have in the center. I don't think it should be Marie, but if it's David Luiz or somebody that we bring in and Saliba on the right, and we play with wing backs, not Saka because Saka needs to be up top. But I think that would be okay for us. I just don't know if that's what Arteta wants to play. I really, really don't. Dev said, this setup suits Aubameyang more. He gets to run at the defense rather than combination plays like Laka. But that at the same time, we need to make sure that we have a focal point. So if this was the way that he wanted to play, then Lacazette would have been on the field, or Pepe would have been on the field. But I just think that this is the way the game unfolded because Chelsea did what they do. They strangle you with pressure and strangle you with possession. And we just got deeper and deeper and deeper without a plan to get out. So there's definitely that. All right. So let's go with some player ratings. You guys let me know in the chat box if you agree with me or you don't, so let's start with the goalkeeper, Leno. This is his zone of genius for me. He's one of the best keepers under pressure when we're getting battered, quite frankly. He's not really the best with the ball at his feet, but he's very, very good at shot stopping. And I think he had a very, very good game today. I think he saved us so many times. And I think he had a top performance today. So for me, I'm going to give Leno I'm going to give him a 9, maybe a little high, but I think, hey, I thought he played well, and for the assignment that was today, which is keep the ball out of the back of the net, he did that. So I'm gonna give him a 9. So what do you guys give? What do you guys give Leno today? Nana G says 8. Brian says he agrees. Dev says he agrees. You guys let me know what you guys think about Burn Leno and what rating you would give him for today's game. Rancid says 8. Bowie the Cat says 7. Michelle says 9. Velocinex says 9 for him as well. Anthony Soto says 8.5 for Leno. Yeah, this is where he thrives. He's much better when we're not in possession. And that's the thing, is that we have so many players that are just better at defending the box and parking the bus and then trying to play on the counter. I don't even think we're good on the counter. I just think we're the type of team that can bunker down and defend a lead. So Leno is good on that. So I'm not going to batter him for it. I think he did well today. So let's talk about the center backs. I want to start with Rob Holding. I think, again, he's a low block defender, so he does well in these scenarios where he doesn't have to have the ball a lot. There were times, there was a specific time where I saw that Burn Leno passed the ball to Rob Holding under pressure. And I think one thing that our team really struggles with is staying calm, under pressure. And when we're being pressed, don't just give somebody a hospital ball to get it off of your toe. It almost seems like I don't want to be the one that loses it, so they kick it really, really fast and they don't really think. So for me, I thought that's something that we need to work on. But ultimately, Rob Holding is a low block defender, and he did well in that position. And I can't really see anything that he was at fault for. I thought the left-hand side had a lot of issues. We'll talk about that in a second. But I thought Rob Holding held it down. So I'm going to give Rob Holding an 8. What do you guys think? Nana G says Rob 8. Bowie the Cat says 8. AK Gunner says Leno 8. And Rob Holding 7. Rancid said we need Mourinho. Nansky says Holding 8, headed well, cleared when we needed to. This is it. This is, again, another player, zone of genius. This is where they do well. Jamie says defense solid. When there's no pressure, we turn in these performances. Gilbert says, Jess, you're Arsenal, Jessica, and I am too. But did you guess us winning? I lost a bet. I didn't. Here's the thing. I always hope that we win, but I don't always anticipate that we'll win. And that's the difference. Any real Arsenal fan wants our team to win regardless. I want Arteta to be successful. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I need to anticipate us winning every single game and predict a win. I hope for wins, but I don't have to predict them. And if we played Bayern Munich tomorrow, I would expect a loss, but I would hope that we would win. That's just how I am. Holding 7, Mo 8. Okay, so we're going to get on to Mo in a second. Rob Holding 7. Rob Holding masterclass. All right, so let's get on to Pablo Marie. If we're going to play this 3 at the back, which I think is something that we should kind of maybe consider to keep, not because I love it, but because I think we're better at it. If we were to keep David Luiz, I think it would be perfect for him to be in the center of Gabriel and Saliba next season, but that's something that we could talk about later. Marie, I think, was shaky in the beginning. Obviously, him and Gabriel had some brain farts, and really Havertz should have put the ball in the back of the net, but he didn't. And that mistake that they had, I thought Marie was okay. I think Rob Holding and Gabriel had more to do, and Marie was just like, okay. Some of his distribution was okay. Some of it was a little shaky. And he showed why he's a backup today. He's definitely not somebody that should be starting in a London derby for me. So I'm going to give Marie a 6. Nana G says Marie 7. You guys let me know in the chat box what you would give Pablo Marie. 6 or 7 for Pablo Marie, 5 for Marie. El Jefe says 6 for Marie. Bowie the Cat says 7, but would have been an 8 if not for the mistake. Okay. Nana G says he has his moments, but he is an old school defender. Marie did well with Giroud. Yeah, he did. Marie 6, 7, and 7. Right. Exactly. So I think we kind of all agree 6 or 7, something like that. So let's move on to Gabriel. Now let's remember that he's been played out of position. You know, he's doesn't usually play on the left side of a back three. So I'll give him a little bit of grace on that. He was marketed to us as a ball playing defender, and in France, when I watched some of the compilations, he was okay. You know, he was okay. He's not David Luiz on the ball. He's not. But I thought he was shocking today. I really did. I thought he looked clumsy and just off of it. But I am, before the game, Orbinho had put out one of his stats that this was like the 36th or something different starting 11 that we've had all season. And I think that speaks to a little bit of maybe why Gabriel is not playing that well. I think he's inconsistent. And at the beginning of the season, he looked good. And then he fell off after COVID. And then he's been in and out ever since. But his center back pairing has been off. He never really knows who's playing to the left of him. He doesn't really know who's playing to the right of him. And that can be shocking for a young defender. We have to remember that he's 22 years old. I know that that's like, well, Saka and Emil Smith Rowe are 20 and 19, but they're going to be elite. Gabriel, I think, can be a really good defender. I think he can be a part of a really great partnership, but he needs a good partner that's more of the ball playing guy. Gabriel plays best with Luiz. I think because he has somebody with a little bit more leadership under his belt. They speak the same language, and Luiz does all the distribution, and Gabriel does all the actual defending. And he doesn't really have that. He hasn't had that in the last couple of weeks, and I think that that's come into some of his performances. That being said, some of his passing was just really off today. He couldn't even kick it down the line. And yeah, I just think next season he needs to be a priority. We need to, again, value destruction is one of my biggest, I'm afraid of value destruction, to be honest. So with Gabriel, he's a young player. Arteta needs to work with him, improve him, and get him the right partner. We don't need to be worried about Marie, and we don't need to be worried about Holding. We need to be worried about Gabriel, because I think he has a high ceiling, but he has a high ceiling, I think, based on his partner, not so much based on his individual talent. So we need to get him the right partner. And I really hope that we do. But that being said, for this game, I'm going to give him a 4. I thought he was shocking. Let's see. What do you guys give Gabriel? I see a 6 for Gabriel. Gabriel 6, he was shaky today, but recovered. He did recover. Gabriel is another one that his zone of genius is defending, actual one-on-one defending. He's a good defender, and he stopped a lot of the attacks for Chelsea. But if we're going to ever be a team that plays in possession and wants to be able to control the ball, we need to have another center back there that can play that way. I don't think Gabriel needs to necessarily get better at it. I think if he's more settled and he feels more comfortable, he will naturally pass better and not make some of the mistakes that he was making. But wow, I thought he was bad today. You guys don't think he was as bad as I did, but Bowie the Cat says 6.5. Anthony says 5.5 for Gab, defending decent, on the ball shaky. 6. Nana G says he's had to adapt so many times. I agree. Gabriel is a 6, but I prefer him over there over Tierney. Gabriel plays best with David Luiz. Seems shaky when he doesn't have Luiz. Gabriel plays better with Luiz. Yeah. So we all kind of see it. I think we all see it. We get it. I thought he was shocking today. But also he's somebody that I have kind of high expectations for. But that, it's also kind of like my expectations need to be tempered by the environment in which he's being asked to adapt into. And it's not a good one. So let's move on to the wingbacks. Let's talk about Tierney. the guy is hurt. Like, towards the end of the game, you could just see that he's not fit, and he doesn't look comfortable. He's still one of our best players. He always is, even when he's not fully fit. But I'm worried about him. I really, really am. I think he needs to sit out the rest of the season. I mean, we have Crystal Palace and Brighton next. Would it hurt you to play Cedric? Would it? You know, the guy needs to go to the Euros. I know he really wants to. I think Scotland hadn't qualified in so long. And they finally qualified due to some of the things that he's been able to do in that Scotland team. So I'd like to see him go to the Euros and do so in a way that he can feel confident and feel comfortable. So I think he needs to sit out the rest of the season. I mean, it was painful watching him every single time he did a tackle, just kind of bend over. And I'm just like, the guy is not fit, and that's something else that I look at Arteta sometimes and I'm like, is it worth it? Is it worth it? I think the same thing about Saka. I'm like, is it worth it? The guy is tired, so I'm going to give Tierney a 7. I thought some of the runs that he made, I thought some of the crosses that he had was really good. He was good in defense like he usually is, not as quick, but you wouldn't expect that because he's coming off of an injury. And he's going to be one of the most important players for us in the next couple of seasons. I think it's really, really important that we get him on a new contract. I know that they're talking about it. Get that done. That's going to be important in the summer. And yeah, again, I'd give Tierney a 7. So what would you guys give Tierney? El Jefe, solid 7. Bowie the Cat said 5. Is that for Tierney? Or El Jefe said 8. Richard said, I agree, he should sit out. Paul Bradley said Tierney 8. Velocinac says Tierney threw all in again, had some vital interceptions, 8 for me. Rancid said, I agree, Tierney 7. Yeah, new left back is needed, Aaron. I agree. AK says Tierney 6, not fully fit. Really important that we signed a decent left back cover due to injury history. No Bertrand Firpo should be the profile. Well, if you believe the rumors, Ryan Bertrand will be coming to the Emirates this summer. Tony says KT 8. Dev says 7. Aaron says 8. And El Jefe says we need at Nuri as a backup. Yeah, so we have that. All right, so let's talk about Bukayo Saka. So when you're 19 years old and you're left-footed and you're asked to play as a right wing back, I think you're going to have an off game unless your team is really, really good. And we weren't. And he really didn't get into the game. But he also, again, looked really tired and not fully fit. And for me, Saka hasn't looked fit in months. He hasn't looked fit. I watch him every single game and I see him he looks like he's like limping. He looks like he's really having a hard time. And I'm just like, is it worth it? I understand sometimes you want to play players through their flow, when they're in a good run of form, you don't want to take them out. But the guy needs a break. He needs a break. And is it freaking worth it? I don't want to see Tierney and Saka near this team for the next 2 games. I can't handle it because watching Bukayo Saka look like he could fall over at any second, just to me, is just like, it's heartbreaking because the kid has carried us all season. And it's like, you could see it slowly shifting from Bukayo Saka to Emile Smith-Rowe. And at some point, we want both of them playing at a high level for us. So I'm going to give Saka a 5, not because I think like, oh, he got the ball so many times and he bottled it. No, he didn't. He actually didn't get the ball at all. It was just the right side was dead today, as it usually is. And the guy's tired. He needs a break. So what would you guys give Saka? Bowie the Cat says 5. I agree. Let's see. Rancid says Saka needs a break. Yeah, he does. Martinelli season, big up to you as well. Nansky says Saka is 6, worked hard without the ball, needs a rest. Yeah, he does. Paul Bradley says Saka needs a rest. He does. Bowie the Cat, yes, he looks tired. AK says Saka today burnt out and not fully fit. Bad management by Arteta. Needs to trust Pepe more. This was a Pepe game. I said it at the beginning. I'm not sure why he doesn't play. I just don't get it, and especially when Saka's looking the way that he's looking. But I think 5 is fair for Saka, and it's not really indicative. It's not really about him. It's about the fact that he just didn't look fit. Um, yeah, Rancid says no rating. Oikena says Saka 6, surprisingly okay defensively at right wing back. I mean, he's such a good player. You know, he could play in any position, and I would love to see him fit in a position at some point next season. So let's move on to the midfield pairing of Thomas Partey and Elneny. We'll start with Thomas. Wow, that was a really shocking dive at the end, wasn't it? I knew he was going to do it too when he started running up. I was like, yes, yes, so good, so good. And then, bye, VIP. Thank you for coming. I thought to myself, wow, that was so shocking. I knew he was going to get a yellow, but at least we got up the field. I thought he had some really good defensive interventions, but again, he had some really bad passes too. And I just think he's another one that we need to take out of the firing line and just let him rest up for next season. He's again he hasn't had the right type of environment to adapt into. We bought him on the last day of the transfer window, and the season was already on its way, like it was already happening. And so when you do that, and then you put it on him to be the one that's going to change all of your hopes and dreams. You're resting all your hopes and dreams on this one signing. It was never going to work out. Then he gets injured, and then he gets injured, and then he gets injured. And then now we're looking at him like, why aren't you changing every single game? Yes, sometimes I get frustrated with him, but at the same time, I'm willing to give him time because I know that this is a world-class midfielder. And if Arteta can't get the best out of him, then it's about Arteta and it's not about Thomas. He's being asked to do multiple roles in a midfield that's usually barren. I think Elneny did a better job than Ceballos does carrying the load with Thomas in that midfield. I think Elneny's job was more to be more busy and to press, and Thomas was trying to patrol right in front of the back line, but also try to progress the ball. And that's really, really tough when the rest of your team, when you have Odegaard and Aubameyang out there, you don't have anybody to drop into the midfield to make up the numbers. It always felt like Elneny and Thomas were being swarmed by Chelsea players, and there was, again, no outlet. So I'm willing to give Thomas some more time because he is a really good player. And I think it's more about the adaptation, the expectation, the unrealistic expectation that we have on him. And he just needs time, and he needs a proper midfield around him and a team that's performing positively. Not every single player is able to come in and change the fortunes of your team. That's just not how it works. And I wouldn't put that pressure on Thomas. So I'm going to give him a 5. Again, not great, not super bad. Had some good defensive interventions, but at the same time, we will expect more next season, I think. What would you guys give Thomas? Tony says Tony says Thomas dive was so bad. Should have shot. It's Kepa's goal after all. Yeah. It was so bad. Thomas 8, superb on the ball. The only midfielder that the opposition was so scared to go near. The refs. Oh, you guys thought he was better than I was. I did. Rancid said Partey 7. Bowie the Cat said Partey 5. I think he looked tired too. Again, you get injured and injured and injured. You lose so much of your game fitness, and he just doesn't look 100%. So yeah, I agree. Partey 7, Elneny 7. Thomas 8, Partey underwhelming 5. Again, is lucky. And he looks very nervous. Would give him a 6 for today. Yep, and I'm going to give Elneny a 7. That's way higher than what I gave Thomas, but that's because the expectations are different. I don't really think that Elneny can do much more than what he does. He gives 110% every single time that he plays. So a lot of my ratings are based on expectation. So I don't expect as much from Elneny as I do from Thomas, and I think he gave 110%. He had a very good second half, and I couldn't ask him for more. He had one little shocking moment back there where he stood on the ball and almost got it taken away, but other than that, for me, I thought the guy was fine. So I'm going to give Elneny a 7. I see a 5, El Neni 7, El Neni 7. Guys, let me know in the comments what you guys think about El Neni. And we will move on to the front three, or how many of it was there? It was Aubameyang, Odegaard, and Emile Smith-Rowe, I think we have left. Aubameyang, I could pretty much give I could probably give him like a 5 just right off the rip, because I think the assist was fine, but he's just not the type of player that you play, in these types of games. Again, I don't think Arteta anticipated the game to be this way, and that's why he played Aubameyang. No focal point. If you wanted to play Aubameyang, you should have played Lacazette as well. But we all know that that's not the best front three for us anyway, or front two. So for me, I give him a 5, not because I think that he just was horrendous, but it's just not a game for him. So quickly, I would just give Aubameyang a 5. Odegaard is somebody that I feel like we need to open up a dialogue on. Some people thought that he was good. I thought that he was a ghost. He does not play well in games where we don't have a lot of the possession. And even when we've had possession lately, he doesn't really have the personality to impose himself on the game. If you watch the way Smith-Rowe got the ball and would drive the ball forward, I think that's the profile that we need to be focusing on when we're looking for somebody to play in those 8 positions or in a 10 position. I think with Odegaard, he's kind of a La Liga type of player. I think he thrives in a scenario where it's not a lot of instant pressure. The way Chelsea swarms the ball, and swarms you, it's not good for somebody like him. So I think he's a fabulous player who has so much talent and so much potential, but for 50 million, I haven't seen it. And I haven't seen it in a while. So I'm going to give Odegaard a 3. Didn't show up and was sloppy when he got on the ball. And it's an expectation thing. And it just wasn't his day. You guys remember, after player ratings in just a couple of minutes, we're going to open up the lines and let you guys come on and have your say. So make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, share this with the people that you have on Twitter, share with friend, whatever, because we're going to get going in just a second. But yeah, Odegaard 4. Odegaard doesn't look like a Premier League player. I mean, take cues from Ceballos. I mean, it's kind of like the same thing. Maybe they're not as talented, maybe they're not as silky on the ball, but in the Premier League, you need running power, you need directness and aggression. That's why players like Harvey Barnes do well, players like Grealish do well, players like James Justin do well, Buendia would do well, and I think that's the profile that we need to be going to. Odegaard had a chance to put us 2-0 up and scruffed it because he can't use his right foot. That's another thing. He's very left foot dominant, and that's a problem. El Jefe said Odegaard doesn't adapt to the tempo of the game. I agree with that. A 5 for me. Too predictable with his left foot and bad decision-making, unfortunately. El Jefe, good players, but not aggressive enough. AK Gunner, Odegaard 4, below average, worst player today, for sure. Let's talk about the man of the match, Smith-Rowe. Smith-Rowe, just the guy is growing. He got that first goal against West Brom, and I really think he was like, I'm just going to take this game by the scruff of the neck. I think he was one of the only players that didn't look scared and really imposed himself on the game. And that's what I talk about with Odegaard. He doesn't impose himself on the game. And I really just think that Smith-Rowe gave us so much in that game. He drove forward. He was brave. He defended. He's an all-around player. And if he could just get more, if he could just stay fit, I think the guy he has so much potential. And I think he'll reach it as long as, again, if he stays fit. He's definitely my man of the match. And I'm going to give him a 9. He didn't really do much wrong. And even when he wasn't clean or perfect, he still tried to get the ball back. This effort level is great. And that's what I really look for. And when I ask for a performance, that's what I'm looking for. Even if we had lost today, I think I still would have felt the same if Emile Smith-Rowe had put in the same performance. But he did score the goal. And hey, what can I ask for? I love the kid. He's working hard. And hopefully Arteta knows how to take care of him. So I'm seeing Smith-Rowe 8.5, man of the match. El Jefe says 8. He's the next Grealish. I mean, we'd be lucky if he was. We really would. I'm about to put the link in the comments right now, guys. Link is in the comments now. Smith Rowe 10 out of 10. We're so lucky to have ESR. I agree. Rancid said ESR 8.5. Dev says 8.9 for ESR. AK Gunner says Smith Rowe 8. Austin said, Jess, maybe we can finally beat Palace this weekend. I think we play them next Wednesday. I think we have like the whole weekend off because of the FA Cup, but we should beat them. But last time we struggled. ESR is physically filling out, going to be a beast. Exactly. That's what we need. We just need him to fill out and be more fit. You know, we just need him to stay fit. Paul Bradley says Smith Rowe is better than Odegaard because he's more direct, low touch player, and a good decision maker. Dave Riley says definitely our best player today. Okay, you guys, we're on to the call-in section. I have just dropped the link in the chat box. Don't be scared. I won't bite. Just come up, have your say what you need to say about the game. Keep it short, no abuse. Cussing is okay as long as we're not being abusive. You know, I'm not opposed to a couple of cuss words or whatever. And yeah, let me know how you felt about the game and any comments you have to have about Arsenal. You know, don't be scared. If you've been here before, you know, we're just here to have a good time and be chill. But I'm going to go ahead and bring Abdallah up. Hey, man. What's that?
Oh, God. Do you know what that was? We did a Joffrey from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and handed you a win on a silver platter. That's what happened today. Everyone it was trash. You know Reece James, right? As a joke, I call him Lil Durk, right? You know, Lil Durk the rapper, because they got the same type of highlights. Today, man was moving like Turk from Tarzan, not flipping Lil Durk. It's rubbish. Everyone was rubbish today. You know what? Emil Smith, you know what it was? I don't even think Arsenal had to play that well. I'll be honest, Arsenal did nothing. You did not lay a glove on us. We just handed it to you on a silver platter. We were that bad. We were that bad. You didn't even have to work for it. And under pressure, Mikel Arteta, we've just given him a win at Stamford Bridge. We didn't make him work for it. Jorginho was absolute rubbish. He was rubbish today. Terrible, man. This sucked. I've got more of my mates who are Arsenal fans. I've got family members who are Arsenal fans. I've got flipping people I go to school with. I've got people that I do work with and shit outside of school who are Arsenal fans. And these guys are going to be on me saying, hey, look at you. Where you at? Where is they going to be coming after me? And I remember last time I came on, I tried keeping it humble. And I just said, listen, it's a London derby. These kind of games, form goes out the window. And we should not take them as a bunch of... Okay, what's the most appropriate word? We shouldn't take them lightly. I was about to say something a bit different, but yeah, they can turn up on their day. It's the Arsenal judge. It's actually Arsenal judge. We can't beat you. It's a mockery, to be honest. But listen, you know what? Congratulations for winning. You're still dead. We're in a Champs final and the FA Cup final. You know, I told you, it wasn't even Carl Banks FC. Joffrey Butler FC turned up today. Charity FC handed you the win on the silver platter. I know there's loads of other people who want to come on, but yeah, be up to you, Jess.
I do have a question for you, though. So for you, is this where you expected you guys to be at this point in the season? You know, because for me, it's like I looked at it, and once you guys made your transfers, it was kind of like you guys thought, well, I heard a lot of we're going to win the league. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And then with the slipping down with Lampard, and then now that you guys are back up, kind of, is this where you anticipated yourself being, like in an FA Cup final and in a Champions League final? Or do you think you guys are overperforming at this point? Or is this the expectation of you guys at this point?
If you're basing it off the talent in the squad, I don't think we're overperforming at all. I think, you know, this is actually a good level for where we're supposed to be at. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just think, you know, ultimately, the reason why Lampard got sacked was because he was underperforming. And it's like, these guys, they're not rubbish, are they? There are good players in this team, as evidently seen throughout the last few months. There are good players. They just needed a manager who had a clear vision and direction. But, you know, I mean, I can't say I expected us to be in a Champions League final. I did expect us to be much higher at the table. And I'm happy that we've managed to climb up higher in the table. But, you know, and I told everyone from the start of the season, you could sign pretty much every player. You could sign Zidane, Ronaldinho, Messi and Maradona all in their prime. I'm telling you, it will not all work within a season because they first need to get on the same wavelength and make sure they've all got their shit together. And that's how you can start challenging for league titles. We don't have a team that is completely on the same wavelength so far this year. Some of our signs have been underperforming. Hakim Ziyech has been terrible. Ben and Jerry's ice cream at left wing back, man like Benjamin Chilwell, who everyone says is supposed to be the best left back in the league. I told everyone, I'll say it again, Kieran Tierney's a much better footballer than him. Forget stats and everything, he's still better. You know, there have been so many underperforming players, partly due to Lampard and his terrible tactics, but also it's just because they need to get to know each other. Some of these people have never been, they lived outside of England. They need to get used to the environment as well to get it. And, you know, I don't think,
are you confident for this weekend then? Does that shake your confidence at all, or do you still think you guys are going to win the FA Cup this weekend?
If there's anything worse than Arsenal judge, it's Leicester judge. Leicester, some reason they just, you know what it is? You see those teams, right, which on paper are so, you should be swiping them, and they just come beat you. That's what it is with Leicester. Leicester should, listen, they're a good team, but I still think we're better than them. I'd still say Peel will put us as favourites. But, you know, Brendan Rodgers is a good manager. He's not a ball job manager, is what most people say, and I would not be surprised if they won it. But we need to win the final, and every game now is a must-win. This, whatever, Arsenal, you can have Twitter bans and whatever, and you can go on us, and there you go. You've won the double, you're still going to finish 8th, and you won't be in the champs for 5 years. So, yeah, have that. But ultimately, if we don't beat Leicester in the cup final and we don't get into the top 4 and we don't win the Champions League, I wouldn't say it's a terrible season. I mean, the top 4 thing would be bad, but only we weren't supposed to be there. So yeah, I'm sort of 50-50. I'm not sure at this point. I'm just really wound up because this Arsenal, it's not even like it means anything in the grand scheme of things. It's just it had to be Arsenal. It just had to be. It was written in the stars, weren't it? Jesus just came down and said, you know what? Today's the day you are going to get smoked by Arsenal. You, man, have been living comfy for too long. It's some mockery, to be honest.
I mean, hey, it happens. You know, you guys, if you've been watching, you know, I'm not like, oh my gosh, we won, we're so good and all this kind of stuff. It was a dead performance and we got lucky, but I'll take my 3 points and go, you know, but there's other people. I will see you later. Abdallah, thank you for being on. See you soon.
Yeah, big up to you, Jess, in a bit.
All right, I'm going to bring Josh on. Hey, Josh, how are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I'm good. Say your piece. How are you feeling?
I'm not even too bothered. I mean, with defeats nowadays, I don't really get too angry. But I think the disappointing thing was we had the big chances. Obviously, our performance today wasn't good, but we had the chances. Havertz, big chance. Giroud and Zuma, but you know, I have to give Arsenal a dub in it because defensively, you man was solid because we barely had any chances. We barely broke you down that often. Obviously, you had a lot of possession, but you man did your thing. But yeah, big up Arsenal and Smith Rowe. He's a player. I can't lie. He's a player.
He is. He likes to show up against you guys. But the fact that you guys don't score a lot of goals, is that something that worries you? Because before the game, I thought that you guys would probably win 2-0. But to come away and not be able to score against a team that's, you know, we're not that great, does that worry you moving on? Like, you have Werner. He hasn't been exactly prolific. Tammy Abraham is maybe still one of your top scorers, and he hasn't played in a while. How do you feel about your lack of scoring, and how do you think you guys fix that in the future?
My Wi-Fi just... I can hear you. My Wi-Fi is just bugging. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
I heard you about the goal scorers, isn't it?
Are you worried about the goal scoring situation, and how do you think that you guys address that in the future? Is Sancho something that would improve that? Is Lukaku the answer? What do you guys need to do? Because right now it just seems like solid defense, but kind of a blunt attack.
Obviously, I've been hearing lots of rumors that we were looking at Haaland, Kane, and Lukaku. I don't know how plausible that is. I feel like we do need a guy that can get us 25 goals a season. I don't know how plausible it is. Obviously, you got then you could say the B options of like an Aguero, but he doesn't stay fit, and you don't know if he's the same player. So we are kind of limited in that sense. People look at Kai Havertz maybe as a false nine. Obviously, I watched him a lot at Leverkusen, and I was impressed with him, but I don't know if I can trust him to be a guy to get us 25 goals a season. I think that's too much responsibility on his hands. It's going to be quite hard. That's one thing that I've looked at and thought, I don't think we can get a striker, with the way the market is right now. There's not really many options. That's the most important thing. There's not really many options. So I don't know.
Well, you guys need to figure that out, I think, because if people get a whiff that they can just sit in a low block, then what are you guys going to do? You need to figure out a way to score more goals. But hey, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate all your input and all that, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. See you.
Bye. All right, we're going to bring Aslan on. What's up, Aslan? How are you?
Evening, Jess. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi. How are we feeling after that victory, eh?
Yeah, how are you feeling?
No, look, I always back my team. Like, I'm happy, but I'm not over the moon. Yes, we've done a double over Chelsea, the first time since our invincible season. But yeah, for me, it was all for pride. Like I've said it all week long, doing the double over Chelsea when we're in the position that we're in, it's nothing to brag about. The only time I may consider of bragging would be if it turns out, or if it becomes reality where Chelsea don't win both of their finals. If they still secure top four and qualify into the Champions League and lose those two cup finals, that's when I can probably start bragging and calling up a few of my Chelsea mates and then bragging to them and saying, what's good. But yeah, in terms of the gameplay, look, we parked the bus. Let's make that clear. Like second half, we parked the bus. Yes, maybe that was a game plan by Arteta. In the first half, we were lucky Havertz missed his opportunity because
very lucky.
He twisted up Mari very well, one-on-one. He wasn't clinical. And even after we scored, we sat back very deep. There were times where both flanks of four were in our box, and we were just inviting pressure after pressure. And but we stood strong. We stayed disciplined. Went 1-0 with a 1-0 lead into the second half, and we came out in the second half not very convincing. Yes, obviously we're away. We sat back and to hit on the counter, but there wasn't a lot of good patterns of play, and to hit. Like there's been many occasions this year, us hitting teams on the counter. We've never been very sharp. Like it always leads to their box, but we never capitalize.
I think that's because that's not the way that we actually want to play. I think if you want to be a counter-attacking team, that's what you practice. Up until this point, our whole entire game plan has been possession, and we haven't been able to really do that very well. And then we come into this game and we're pushed back because Chelsea swarms us with pressure. And I think we naturally went into a low block, not because that's what we wanted to do, but because that's how Chelsea, that's how Chelsea pressed us into that. And then once we got the goal, we sat back even further. Do you think that this shows that we're a 3-back team or a 5 at the back team, and that's something that we need to maybe look at? Arteta needs to just be okay with okay, we have players that play better in this system and just adapt to that, or persist on with the way that he wants to play even without the players?
I mean, like we still haven't seen a clear a plan, and like I do get, when we play away from home, depending on who the opposition is, sometimes obviously you do have to change your tactics. Like you have to set up yourself, prior going into the game away all week. Obviously, Arteta and his coaching staff, they set up a game plan and they work on that in training all week. But when you do go into the game, I feel that if it doesn't go your way, you always need a backup option, a backup plan. You need a plan B or a plan C, but we've failed to show that, in my opinion. And when it comes to our A plan, we just fail to execute it.
Right.
Because Chelsea, they were really pressuring us out on the flanks. They had patterns of play. Their passing was more sharper, more crisper. They were whipping in balls into the box, but unfortunately, they just didn't have the target man that was clinical for them tonight. And we did we were lucky in the game. Like to hold on to that 1-0 lead, we were very lucky. Havertz hit the post. They hit the post towards the end of the game on 2 occasions. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm down. We obviously won. I'm very happy. But for me, it was just all about pride. And I'm not going to brag about it because we all know where we are in the league. Yes, we went up 1 position. I just hope we don't qualify for the this new European Conference League, because for me that's just a level 3 tier comp. I just feel we need a whole year out of Europe. Like if we're not going to qualify for Europa League.
You'd rather just be out of it altogether.
Yeah, and just focus on the league for 1 season, and just go from there, basically.
I hear you. Well, thank you, Aslan. Thank you for coming on and having your say. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, thank you for having me, Jess. Good night.
No problem. Bye, Aslan. All right, you guys, that's it for today. The match reaction for our win against Chelsea. What can I say? We won the game. So that's the name of the game, is to win. So we did that, not in a beautiful fashion or anything like that, but hey, it was a scruffy win and we got through it. Again, like we already said earlier, don't really want to see Tierney anymore. Don't really want to see Saka anymore. Let's start looking towards next season and being smart. It's Brighton and it's Crystal Palace, and we should be able to rotate and not play some of our best players and have a decent performance against those teams. I'm with Aslan. I prefer not to be in the Europa Conference League. I really hope we don't qualify for it. I know that may sound, I have good reasonings for it. It's not, of course I want us to finish as high as we possibly can, but let's be real. Being outside of Europe is probably our best chance of getting the jump on some of these other teams that will be in European competition. And we'll see. The next show is going to be tomorrow morning. Probably it's just going to be a news show. I'm sure there'll be some more transfer news. It's the morning show, or the early show is usually a transfer show. We'll do some post-match talk, and then on tomorrow in the afternoon, it's going to be an in or out show. So we'll go through some of the players and talk about who we want to stay and who we want to go, who will loan out, and for what price. So we'll do all those good things. And so I will see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. UK time. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye, guys.